I read a lot of philosophy because I had the belief that with enough awareness and a well-designed system, the human species could flourish. I realize now no system will ever work because human beings are only interested in pursuing their own selfish interests at the expense of others. During that time, I read a book, The Fountainhead, in which the heroine took the most exquisite piece of art, a porcelain figure, and flung it down an elevator shaft. At the time, I couldn't conceive of why anyone would do something like that. In fact, I've spent a lifetime saying hello to my dreams with focus and conviction while ignoring what is. In the last couple of years, I've lost all hope, not because your message is incorrect or because I can't create, but because there is more to it than that. You cannot minimize what goes on out there with a single pleasant-sounding word like contrast. You come down here, take a body, be subjected to a childhood of abuse, an adult life of business failures, betrayal, financial ruin, divorce, and constant barrage of exploitation from your fellow man and big business, and then stand before me with this message. How many people in history are capable of doing that? So I came here today to tell you that as I survey the infestation on this planet, I am disgusted. I now feel mostly hatred for people and their ignorance, stupidity, and petty strivings towards shallow money trenches they dig to insulate themselves and parade around in tacky luxury. I see the majority of people trapped in lives that bear no resemblance to their desires, and more often than not suffering in the most awful ways as a result of others inserting themselves in their experience. And you're never going to convince me that 6 million victims of World War II genocide, or any of the other many genocides over history for that matter, were all a match to their experience. I have absolutely no doubt that history will repeat itself, and wars will dominate the majority of people once again for the next 4,600 years.
We think that what you... Flip your lid up just a little bit so we can see you, unless you don't want us to see you. Take your hat off maybe so we could see your face.
I don't really want to be videotaped. In fact, your staff is very insistent on videotaping me, and that's not really what I wanted.
Well, take the camera off of him. It's all right. Take the camera off of him. And we are not going to try to make anything happen. We just want to look at you ourselves. So we don't disagree with anything that you've said. And we would not for a moment express, you can videotape us. We would not for a moment express that there is anything inappropriate about the perspective that you found. And anyone with a reasonable mind, which includes everyone in this room and those looking on, would agree in part to a lot of the things that you've said, that there are, we'll use more words than contrast, there are horrendous, unfair, unthinkable, unspeakable acts and behaviors and perspectives that are going on all around the world. In other words, this is a world of contrast of immense proportions. And when we say that it's the best of times and the worst of times, we're not kidding, because the contrast does get greater and greater. Man's ability to inflict pain and harm upon one another is also increasing, as is man's ability to find love and harmony. And we get how when you are part of a world that has access to so much information and so much detail that sometimes it defies the, it would make you feel foolish to put your head in the sand and pretend that unspeakable things either have not happened or are not happening, because the fact of it is they're happening all around you. But having said all of that, we also know that every one of you came forth into these human bodies and these bodies of beasts with clear foresight of what was here. Not one of you was told or believed that everything was all smoothed out. Not one of you wanted that, because you believed that you would carve your life out of the content of that which was here. And none of you would have come forth if there had been a promise that you would have not had choices. That's the most important thing. It's hard to believe when people are living unwanted things. It's hard to believe that they have been given free will and that their choices are being honored, because it's hard to believe that someone would choose something unspeakable or unthinkable or horrific or horrendous. It's hard to believe that. And that's why we are here having conversations with those who are interested, because we agree with you. People don't realize that they're making those choices, so it feels like it's something that's being done to them. And the reason that they don't believe that they're making those choices is because not one of you, or it would be a rare few of you, would acknowledge that I would do, or anyone would do, these unspeakable things to myself. So it makes you believe that there must be some other factor involved. There must be some source of darkness. There must be some source of badness. There must be some cosmic debt to pay. You come up with all kinds of things in your explanation of the unwanted things. And so we enter the picture in response to powerful wanting, yours being a strong part of it. You're not the only one on the planet who feels this way. As you look around these gatherings, these are very small groups out here on the leading edge, because the majority of people do not want this simplistic response to things that feel so big. But we want you to understand that unless you start at a sort of basis of understanding of how it is that things are coming to you, until you understand that, then you cannot understand how anything is coming to any other. And when you begin to make the association between what you're thinking and how you're feeling and how things are turning out, then you begin to get some insight into what's happening to others. The biggest piece, and we know that it is borderline sickening to humans to hear this from us, but the biggest piece that is missing in the understanding of human friends is that the horror that you've assigned to the death experience is not what you've made it out to be at all. And that's one of the advantages that the beasts give to you, is that they come and go and 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 come and go, because they reach levels of maturity so much more easily. And so the joy that they feel is proportionately greater. In other words, even though often they come to what you would call some terrible end, that terrible end is very brief in relationship with the delicious romping that they've been experiencing.
Absolutely.
And humans do not allow themselves that benefit, because humans are so busy speculating the what has gone wrongness that they hold themselves in vibrational discord with the rightness that their own individual lives have actually carved out.
This is not about the death experience in terms of it being horrendous. It's about the damage that is done, the unfinished business, the children left behind, the families disrupted, the lives destroyed, and all of the experience which we live in that process.
Well, you see what you are doing, and it is unique to you in that your caring is greater than most feel. But what you have done is you are taking upon yourself, through your attention to detail, the burdens of the discomfort of the lives of so many over which you have no creative control. So the darkness that you are feeling and the horror of it, the injustice of it, is because you personally cannot do anything about any of that. But we want to say to you, you're taking so much more of it on yourself than is yours to take, and that any individual that is experiencing any of the pieces of that you're defining is not feeling as badly about it. At one point, early in her experience with us, Esther was watching something on television. It was something that had happened in another part of the world, and it had happened to children, and the mothers were wailing, and as Esther was watching it, she was beside herself with discomfort. And she said to us, Abraham, if I am feeling this much discomfort over watching something from which I am so completely removed, what must it be like for those people who are in the midst of all of that? And we said to Esther, your pain in this moment is greater than theirs, because the contrast between who you are and what you are living and what you are allowing right now is greater. And because in the midst of that, other things are happening to them. Other coping mechanisms are taking place.
Yeah.
That's the most significant thing. So you do a real disservice to yourself, and we're not trying to talk you out of it because you're launching all kinds of global rockets of desire, but we're just saying to you that you will not be able to sort yourself out of this by getting more and more specifics. We have never heard more articulate conversation. We have never heard words come together more accurately or comprehensively. You are really good at conveying what you are feeling, and you've taken on yourself the discomfort and discord of maybe millions of people and directed it to us in perhaps the most profound and powerful way that we've ever experienced it. And in all of that, we only have simplistic answers for you. Those answers are, life is supposed to be good, not just for Esther and not just for some, but for all of you. And when it isn't, something has gone terribly wrong. Yeah. And every single time, the thing that has gone terribly wrong is that an orientation or a perspective has been developed and practiced to the point that other evidence can't come in. In other words, when you have decided something in a very powerful way, then it must be, because law of attraction will always present to you exactly the package that you are practicing all day, every day.
You've got no argument with that.
And so we do not sense that your life reflects this now in this powerful way. At one time, yes. But we want to say to you that you are taking more upon yourself. This is really what we would like to say to you. In the same way that Esther, through allowing Abraham, is a voice that really perpetuates more and more people coming into their personal alignment and allowance. That when someone is articulate and accurate as you are, presents an opposing point of view, that you are, in essence, not creating for the masses, but you are presenting a vibrational forum that allows that grid to fill in more easily. Because you cannot be a vibrational match to something without perpetuating it. You just cannot be. So, silly as this is going to sound to you right now, we want to say you're just having one hell of a step one moment. You're just having that I know what I don't want moment. And if you were not, from the core of your being, someone who understood so profoundly that that is not the way it is meant to be, you would not be experiencing the discord and discomfort that you're experiencing. In other words, the enormity of your outrage. Jerry said to Esther, you're aware of Jerry?
Oh yes, I've met Esther and Jerry at their house.
Jerry said to Esther, he's writing to her nearly every day. He said to Esther, I understand the profound depth of your love for me by the profound depth of the pain you are feeling in believing in the absence of me. And this is sort of what we'd like to say to you, is that we know of the depth and the power of who you are and what you are really wanting. You are a powerful being who understands well-being at the very depth of your being. And when you focus for a little bit or for a long while, as you have, upon the opposite of that, then it is logical that you would feel in the way that you feel.
I've spent a lifetime doing this work. I read clairvoyantly. I could read everybody in this room and they'd go home with a really good piece of information. And I'm sensitive and I see very deeply. And what I see after a lifetime of putting stuff in the vortex is that when is my moment? When is my moment? If you want to take this from the general to the personal, okay. It's not here. It's not coming. And the stuff in the vortex isn't there. And I'm living misery, and I have been for a long time, ever since I really practiced my art. Becoming more sensitive is part curse.
Well, your perspective is valid, and we would not for a moment try to talk you out of it. But we do feel in all that you have said here that your desire is different than the reality that you are describing. And that as long as that desire is pulsing within you, and it is, that we will continue to give our undivided, whether you believe it or not or even care or not, we will continue to give our undivided attention to that. And we want to say to you that you represent not necessarily large numbers of people, but you represent in your discourse here the perspective of humans that believes that they are not the creator of their own reality, that they have no creative control. And we want to say clearly to you that you do create your own reality, that you are creating your own reality, and that everyone is not having the experience that you have described. In fact, the majority of the people who are here in this room do not resonate with what you're saying at all. They are eager to allow this conversation because they all know people who feel a bit like you're feeling, but they don't feel this way.
Well, if I was the creator of my reality...
Since you are the creator of your reality...
Many people are creating their realities.
Every person is creating their reality.
On an energy level, yes.
Vibrationally.
Vibrationally,
and
yes.
often unknown to them.
Physically, people insert into others' experiences. I do not believe for a minute every one of the 6 million Jews that spent 20 minutes screaming themselves to death in a gas chamber was an attraction or created that experience. Nor any of the other genocides, Rwanda, any of them. I mean, there, even if in the most simplistic...
Here's the most significant thing that we want to say to you. It is not important to us what you believe, because what you believe is yours to believe. It is important to us what we know to be. It is important to us that we know what we know. So we have discovered that by knowing what we know, our life is one of joy. And you've discovered that by knowing what you know, your life is one of misery. We just want to explain to you that there are choices. We don't disagree with you that most people don't know those choices. We don't disagree with you that momentum happens and people focus upon the reality around them. We don't disagree with you that people push against a lot of things. We do not disagree with you that there are people that are evil in intent, that find ways of putting people in precarious positions. But we will never agree with you that the world is without the ability to create its own reality. We will never...
I'm not saying that. I'm saying if you're in a situation that is out of control because other people have their own positions of power... Out of control
because vibrational momentum has caused it to be that. I want to ask this audience for a moment. Are you all right for a little more discussion? Or... So they're enjoying the discussion.
Thank goodness, because I know this is an unpopular question.
It's all right.
I've taken 2 years to come here, and I've had this conversation with you on the astral many times. And last time I tried to come here, it was no, and this time it was yes. So here I am. What I'm trying to say is that people create a physical reality in big institutions, big pharmaceutical companies, big insurance companies, big banking, and we are caught up in that, whether we like it or not. We are born into a system in whatever country it is.
We agree that the systems surround you, but we do not agree that you have to be bound by your perspective of them. And what we've been wanting to help people with recently is to unravel the specifics by getting more general. And people are beginning to discover, someone who feels as strongly as you do from your perspective would say, well, you're just teaching them to put their head in the sand, that ignorance is bliss. And we would say, head in the sand is good if the alternative is focused upon something that will cause an attraction of unwanted, and ignorance is bliss if attention to the unwanted causes you to practice a vibration that causes a point of attraction that gets you more of what you do not want. So we do not disagree with anything that you're saying. We just, as Esther began receiving us in the early days, all those years ago, she did not have a religious background. She did not have a philosophical background. She was, for the most part, just living life happily ever after. So, and Jerry had endless questions. It would not have been unlike Jerry to have presented a question much like the one you've presented in those early days, because he was always riding in on his white horse with his white hat, trying to right the wrongs of the world, and felt great frustration that there were those who were not cooperating with that intent. And as we began interacting with the two of them, Jerry must have asked thousands of times about one thing or another. And our answer was, that's not your work. And then he'd come at us again, and we'd say, that's not your work. And then he'd come at us again, and we'd say, that's not your work. Until about 4 months in, he said, Abraham, what is my work? What is my work? And we said, your work is to shine a spotlight on the well-being of this planet. Your work is to shine a spotlight upon what is wanted, to practice what is wanted with such profound attention that it reverberates in your being so that it becomes your chronic point of attraction. That is your work.
And that's what you are doing. And my question to you is, why now? I mean, if you're in non-physical, where there's no time and no space, you could be anywhere along our time track. You could be with any different species.
That's a misunderstanding. That's a misunderstanding, because we are here with you where there is time and space. We are 11 minutes over time. There's that much time and space going on. We are here with you in your time and space. Non-physical energies are here with you. They are here with you. And that is the reason that you feel such discord, because there is so much available non-physical information and non-physical support and guidance. And when humanity, a piece of it as small as one individual or a larger group like 6,000 people in the gas chambers, are focused in such ways that they deprive themselves of that well-being, it makes for a big and very unpleasant and, from our point of view, unnecessary event.
Okay, so as you survey the people of this planet, how many of them do you see living the contrast? And how many of them do you see living the joy that they've created?
100% of them are living some point of contrast. And about 5% of them are chronically conscious and aware of their vibration enough that they're guiding themselves mostly to joy. And we would put Esther in that 5%, and she had a kidney stone. So we're not saying she is always there, but we are saying she is chronically enough there that by Earth standards, she's a joyful being, and there are many of you who are that way, you see. Your pessimism is accurate, but you have focused it into being. So you're accurate in the fact that you have found it, but you're not looking broad enough, you see. You're not looking broad enough. And if you were to look broader, you would begin to see some of what we see.
I do.
And when you catch a glimpse of it and begin to focus there, then your world must reflect to you in a different way. You are creating the world through the vibration of your point of view.
No argument with that. The thing that I think you're missing is that we live out there. And out there, if 95% of them are experiencing, quote, the contrast, which I would describe more as the misery.
Oh, well, the contrast that we were referring to was difference. The contrast is variety, not misery.
But most of the people are living miserable lives for the most part.
But you see, you don't have access to other than that when you feel the way you feel. In other words, you don't feel, you can't attract otherwise. That's what's so interesting about law of attraction. When you make up your mind about something, it becomes your vibrational offering. And when it's your vibrational offering, law of attraction says, here's more evidence, here's more evidence, here's more evidence, here's more evidence.
Until you run into somebody out there.
Until you croak, and then you find all that you've put in the vortex, and then you understand, and then you become a chorus or a voice with the likes of Abraham in order to explain that there was a misunderstanding. Law of attraction proved its point to you.
I can do that, and I've done that. I'm saying I've done a lifetime of this, and at this moment, maybe because I'm just in divorce and a little bitter, I don't know, but at this moment, I'm doing an assessment. It's time to do an assessment.
We want to say to you, and we mean this as much as we have ever been able to convey it to another, we have enjoyed this interaction immensely. It is deeply satisfying to us to hear someone with strong conviction. And we want to say to you that you're not wrong in your perspective, and law of attraction will prove you right. We just want to ask the simple question, is this what you want to be proven as right? Because it is not the work that we are upon, and we do not believe it is the work you are upon either. Because if it were, you would be taking joy in this perspective, and you're not. Good time for a segment of refreshment.